Hello everyone, Seth here again with another video, or at least hopefully another video. We shall see where this road takes us. But I've got the old 900 out of the garage. I've got another red car in, but this time it's the Mercedes. And I'm going to try to tackle this window regulator on the passenger side. This is the one I've been griping about. It's getting to be pretty nice outside in central PA, and we just had a beautiful week of weather last week. And I'm trying to get both my convertibles ready to go again. The Saab 9.3's over getting actually a window regulator replaced and probably a motor as well. That I didn't want to deal with, but this I'm going to try to tackle on my own. So basically it's just not going down. I had put the windows down back in December, the last time that the top was down, and just heard a loud snap, and then the window didn't really do anything. And if you bump it, if I can get it here, I can't do it with, let's see. It's not real important, but the window, yeah, there's nothing holding it up. It's all loose. If you press the button, you can just hear a bunch of wires mangling inside. So, you know, it's just a lot of work. I've got the trim piece out here on the side, and then on the inside, I mean, so much is going to have to come out. The rear seats, the headrest, this whole interior panel, obviously. There's bracing inside. I'm just not real enthusiastic about this job. There's so much involved with it, and I'd love to just have the Mercedes dealer take care of it, but you know, I have a couple concerns with that. One is I'm probably going to have to do the other side, so I might as well try to learn how to do this one and then do that one and save myself some money. The other thing too is that, you know, this being not an old car, I know I have older ones, but I don't want anything that's kind of brittle to get broken. I don't want any of the seats to get kind of ripped or smudged, or any of this paint to get worn. So I know if I do it myself, sure, yeah, it's going to take more time, but at least I'll be hopefully happy with the results, and if not, I'll have only myself to blame. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on there. I've got these wheels moved out of the way. I did kind of clean up the garage. It's no longer a mountain of junk. Well, maybe just a smaller mountain, but it's not junk either. This is all stuff I need, but it's kind of haphazardly stored there for now. But I was able to get some stuff up, and I actually painted that back wall, and I'm kind of working my way around. And then I kind of cleaned up along, well, both sides really. I cleaned up my shelves up here, and got some new shelves up here with a better light, and I actually got plywood up here, and I'm working on this bench. I'm actually going to finally, after I think like 20 years of my family living here, we're probably going to have a vise mounted to the workbench. So again, this is all just a work in progress, but it was important to me to get this kind of cleaned up and ready to go, because I don't want to be getting dirt everywhere, and I also need kind of a relatively clean place to be able to put some of these things, which actually will probably end up going in the house. Anyway, I'm going to try to film what I can, kind of go over everything. Probably I'll just show a couple steps, then shut the camera off, do those things, show a couple more, talk about it, kind of present it like that. I'm just not really set up to film the whole thing. So anyway, we'll get started. I'm going to probably just push this window down and then see if the top goes down, and I'll leave the tonneau cover up, and then I'm going to try to get the seats out, and also the interior panel there, and we'll just kind of see how that goes. We're underway. So I just realized before I didn't show this, but there's basically 3 clips here, and I'll show you the trim piece then, and then this one here on the end. So just gently put a rag along here, soft clean rag against here, and then you can just pop those out individually. And then what we're trying to get to is there's a nut or bolt back in here. I haven't looked at it yet, but anyway, there's one there under this plastic. So I'll show you that. But then on the inside, and as far as getting the top down, I did do the trick with the key and the infrared sensor. Maybe I'll make a video on that sometime. But anyway, I did that way because, you know, I don't know what kind of clearance we have here. So that way I was able to watch it. And I've kind of stopped it before it was complete, but with the tonneau up, because we're going to need to get to some of this stuff. But that'll make it a lot easier. We got to remove this trim piece on the back. The headrests have to come out. We got to remove this everything. So anyway, so that's out. On the inside here, you know, this is now all off, but I'll show you on the other side here. Just set that down underneath the SRS piece of plastic there. There's a T30, and on mine that was pretty tight, so you'll need a wrench. And then there's a T25 if you pry this one out here for the wind deflector. I just used a Torx driver there. And then I'll show you the panel here. the panel has these clips at the top that push in. So between, you know, the clips would help hold it, and then the screws would hold the rest of the way. And then you've got these here at the bottom. So what you want to do is kind of pry the top out and then lift up. That way you won't break anything. If you pry the bottom, you'll break it. Then the wood stays in. It looks like the wood stays in on the panel there. And so now we'll have to get this piece off, but I think we'll do the seat next. I think we'll get the seat or seats out and you know, and go from there. And then we'll have to attack getting the window switch removed and getting the seat belt out of the way, and then getting the rest of that panel off. And again, you know, just got to be careful with anything. I don't want anything getting dirty. You know, if I touch something that's dirty, then I got to wipe my hands off because I don't want to get it on the interior. So this is just taking a lot of care, and this is why I want to do it myself. So here's this. Get this out of the way here. Here is the trim. So again, you can see there's that funky clip at the end, and then these here along the side. It kind of looks to me like that's been off before, so I don't know. Who knows? I'm going to see if I can get new clips, because I really don't want to lose this piece. And then here are these here, so if you just pry in at the side, you can kind of release these, and then they'll just kind of lift up and out. Nothing fancy. And then there are the screws for that. So it's really starting to come apart now. So I removed the clips here, and then there's two 13 millimeter bolts underneath. Same on the other side, so you'll need to get those out. There's also two 13 millimeter bolts back here, and one there. Same on the other side. And then there's this bracket that goes through it, so that will come off next. And there's also an additional bolt right back here. This is pulled apart now, but it's right in this area. And then another one here, same on the other side, and then the subwoofer can kind of get out of the way there. I've also unbolted the two, I think that was a T35. Let's check here. Yeah, T45, sorry, T45 Torx to loosen up the seatbelt bolts there, and they should pass through the seat. So now I'm going to try to lift. The subwoofer can just stay. It has to be unbolted, but it can stay. And then we'll just kind of lift the seat out here, see how that goes, and then move on to the next thing. But I'm actually kind of surprised, you know, there's not too much dirt and debris in here. I mean, it's a little dirty. I'm going to clean everything before this all goes back together, but you know, that's another reason why I'm not real excited about this. This brings back memories of working on the top on the 9.3, which was it wasn't a disaster, but it was not fun. That was that job was a mess. But anyway, when I lifted up the rear seat of that, which by the way is not bolted in, it's just pressed in, very easy to remove. But there were just leaves and petals from flowering trees and some hair. But basically, if it falls from the sky and lands in the car, it was in there. It was a lot of vegetation. Anyway, so there's that. And then I also removed the little plastic rivets here, and then the piece that goes across the back there as well. Alright, the next part here, I've got this kind of removed, but to go back on what we were doing earlier, there's another screw on this side, so two screws on this side. I'll go back and insert a reminder in the video, but that threw me, so maybe check that. Then there's a screw here, here, and here. That's a Torx, whatever size it is, I don't know. And then I did remove the seatbelt extender, which is just kind of hanging down there. It's not super safe right now. But then this piece here will peel out, and there's there will be a picture of, there was a picture of the metal plate and the screws, Phillips screws, so that needs to come out as well. And then this metal trim will pry out, but we'll get to that later. So with that out of the way here, now see, on the passenger side there's a little bit different mechanism for the seat belt base. If this was the driver's side, I'm pretty sure you could undo the bolts on that metal bar and slide the belt off and then through the panel. So because we don't have that and I don't want to take it apart, what I'm going to end up doing probably is just lifting the panel off and then sitting it up here against the passenger seat. We're going to lose a little bit of room, but I think that's going to be better in the long run. So that's out. Then once with those screws out, the panel does clip in at the top, and I was tugging on it, and nothing was happening. So I was able to kind of look behind, and if you kind of pull this back, there are a couple of clips, 2 along the front there, and then 2 here. Yeah, 2 here, there and there. That one fell in somewhere, so we'll have to find that. But those clip in across the back here. Also to note, don't mess with the seat belt there with the battery connected. So don't forget, you got that, and you've got the airbag there. So just be really careful of that. I still have the battery connected, but I'm not saying that's what you should do. But I think we're going to need power here for moving the top and things for what we'll do. So I didn't want to disconnect it and then reconnect it, and I don't need to work on that anyway, so it's no big deal. There's a couple bolts to hold in the seatbelt presenter, so we'll do that and kind of get this out of the way and dig into the next part. So I have the seatbelt presenter out, so you got to remove the bolts there that were pictured. This one here also is for the seatbelt itself, so now that's out of the way. I mean, kind of looks like a wreck, but I don't know of a better way to do it. And then there's these two clips here for this harness that need to be pulled out of the way, because the next part that comes off is this piece that you see here in black. So you've got a couple bolts here, and here, back across here, and then this brace has to come out. And then some of this weather stripping will have to come out, and then you'll have to raise the top because there's another bolt back in this area which now is kind of buried in these hinges, so you have to get to that as well. But in the meantime, this piece of chrome or bright work here, this has to come out of the way, so that just pops off. So I'll move that aside, and then with that moved, there's also some weather stripping on the inside. So this part here should kind of lift out of the way just like that, and then this here will have to come up, so it'll take a little bit of time. I don't want to break it. Need 2 hands for that, but all that stuff's going to have to come out of the way. I'll remove all these bolts here, and then I'll raise the top and see what happens. Anytime you're messing with that rubber and stuff, you just got to be careful. Again, you don't want to get that on the leather in case it's just, well, I mean, if it's not something you're worried about, it doesn't matter. But on a light interior like this, you'll just want to be aware of that. Before I do that, I just wanted to stop and show another thing here. So with this piece out of the way, to remove this weather stripping, it's just going to basically pull straight up. So this part right here goes down over this part here, and then this one here, if you flip it up, this groove here lines up with the back of these clips. So the chrome will clip into here, the weather strip will clip into here, and then as you pull it back, you'll kind of work it towards this side. This is something that you'll want to be careful of and not break, but this is just really intricate German stuff. On the back side, there's a slot, so the rubber seal, as you can see there by the dirt, would slide down over. At the top of the back of this strip, there's a little nub which clips into that opening right there, and then there's also a drain hole there. And then it looks like the bottom part of this is adhered by trim tape, so just carefully peel all that off, and then probably I would clean all this up. I mean, I'm not going to do it in this video because I don't have it with me right now, but I would clean all that up, and then if any auto parts store will have like a, not auto parts, like an auto body supply place will have 3M trim tape, or just any trim tape, I guess. I would redo that, but while it's all out, clean all that up so that it goes on properly when it's done. Oh, I love this part. Nothing like doing what you're not supposed to do with a convertible top on a very expensive car, but I'll just have to trust it. Anyway, I have all the bolts removed across the back here, with the exception of this one, because that supports a lot of the weight for the top. So I thought, you know what, I'll just leave that finger tight just to be safe. Otherwise, all the bolts are across down this way, and then this one here. So what I didn't show in the previous video, but was you know, back in here, if you peel this fabric back, there's 2 bolts inside, and you'll have to get a little creative with the bottom one because there's not a lot of room with this brace there. That said, you could always just get it when you put the top back up. Either way, just be very careful that you put this rubber piece back in because it's very tight to the top there. So just make sure that that's back in before you try to raise the top. So that's what I've done here now, and I've left it. I just want to tuck this back before I forget. Anyway, all right, so that's all back in. And again, wow, you know, this is pretty nice and clean here. This is a little bit of loose stuff here from a cracked wiring harness down there, but no leaves or any junk, so that's kind of cool. And so with that done, and also these rams are nice and dry. Everything looks good. All the lines look good. I'm really impressed, actually. You know, this is always a little scary owning an old convertible. But back in here, if I can, I have to look at it and also get the camera on it. But yeah, back in here, there's that one remaining bolt that yeah, up in there. Anyway, so that one needs to come out, and then the other one, and then this metal piece should come out. Now I think we might have to go and put the top back down for that, so we'll see. But anyway, here's what we have it. Here's what we have it at right now, and it looks like the top is holding. It wasn't happy, it was beeping at me, but it's just going to have to get over it because there's just no other way to do this. And I don't know, maybe you should put a brace here to kind of hold that, but I don't have a real, you know, realistically, I don't really have a real good way of doing that. So anyway, we'll just kind of leave it like that and get that out and see what happens next. So I finally have it out. That's that brace. So other than the 2 screws there that I forgot, that pretty much pulls straight up. Just peel back this weather stripping here, and I did have to put the top back down again. So hopefully it still works when this is all done. This window is pretty loose at this point. Just be careful when you pull that out not to scratch it or scratch the edge of the car. Really, you know, don't scratch anything. So next we'll just attack this window regulator here. So there's a couple bolts for that, but let me take a look and we'll get back to it. So I did get the window glass out. This was kind of tricky. So you need the window in the up position to take the glass off. Well, here's the thing. We're not replacing the regulator preventatively. We're replacing it because it broke. So basically I had to mess with the window switch a little bit to kind of get some slack in the wires, which I'll show then once we take everything apart. But it was just really, really difficult getting the window out. I got it up as far as I could, and don't forget it mounts to this bracket, which was further in at the time. And I pulled out the 3 bolts for that, which are, you know, like here, and then that mounts through the glass right here. So that would be would be the inside of the car there. It goes through these. So that was a little tricky. I was kind of upset that that wasn't a little bit easier to take off because I think the alignment of the window is going to be off. So we'll have to check that then. But anyway, with that off, we've got a bolt here, one over here, and it's nice. Look, they give you that cutout so you can get an extension in there. And then also one here, which that's just the weirdest spot for a bolt. But with those 3 out, this window regulator should more or less come out. There will be a connector for the motor, of course, but yeah, let's give it a shot and see what happens. So I have the regulator assembly here taken apart. This is the piece here that was cracked. You can see the loose pieces over here, so that was the issue. Basically, those wires come back around and wind around these wheels here and then back up to the motor. So this is all just mangled, so we'll have to take that apart and just kind of dig through it. I do have the upgrade, well, not an upgrade, the repair kit right here. So you get the new piece there, the butterfly piece, and the new wheel and 2 new wires with it. So I'm going to go ahead and take out these 3 bolts right here and these 2 here and just kind of get everything opened up and have a look at it. All right, so I've got everything back together, or at least so I think. This was a little bit tricky to do, and I had a hard time filming it. So anyway, here's what's going to happen. You've got, look at the old pieces here for reference. You've got this plastic piece under here. You got to take out these bolts. Do this one first, and then slide the regulator past, and then you can hold on to the back. This is a T25 and a T25 on the other side. This connects to the regulator. This one here just kind of glides on that frame. So take that apart. There's washers, plastic bushings. Just be careful of how you take it apart so you can know how to put it back together. Clipped into this butterfly piece, as you can see clearly, that's what split. That's why, yeah, well, anyway, that's what happened. So there is the the longer cable here. So you don't want to have these doubled back. They need to go in the direction that they are mounted into this clip. So this mounts in just like that. Again, longer cable kind of going towards here, which that's the post that lines up here. So that's kind of like the bottom of the window. So longer cable towards the bottom, bigger cable towards the top. So with those, you're going to have the here, let's get it up here, the other side of the cable right here, and that's going to clip into this wheel. Now this is actually the new wheel. The wires that came with this just didn't work, so I don't know, you get this sometimes when you order from whatever place. So basically what's going to happen is you'll want to kind of get these wires on this part of the cog here and here, and then wind these in with this tooth side towards, up towards you, and then this will ride against the regulator. So on mine, I had this one kind of on the bottom side, and then this one kind of on the top. And then what should happen is when we run the motor, this is all under a little bit of spring tension from the ends of the cables, but when these turn, they should, it's kind of hard to show it, but they should pull that cable in, and then it'll be under spring tension. So we'll give that a shot now. But anyway, as far as the cables and everything go, that's back together. So I'm just going to clean this up a little bit, and then we'll kind of get it reinstalled, get the power on, and see what happens. Okay, well, I've got the regulator back in and hand tight. The bolts are just hand tightened. And I also put in this piece of weather stripping here, and I actually put the glass in, and bolted everything up and lined it up. I didn't clean the glass, below the weather stripping line here. So I was able to just look at the dirt marks there and kind of get that lined up. And I did run this, and it worked fine. So, well, it's just here. You can have a look yourself. So I'll just put the key in here. Okay. Yeah. No problem. So that looks good. I have no issue with it. It's not going to go up quite perfectly because it sees that the front window's down and the door is closed. I think it's, I can't remember exactly how that works, but I know the window does want to stay down just like a 1/4 of an inch, just so that it doesn't interfere with the weather strip for the front window. So with that done, let me tighten up the rest of the bolts, tighten the rest of them up, and just get the regulator in and start putting stuff back together. But basically, the I can't think of the word. The reinstallation of everything will be the reverse of removal. But that's pretty good. That's pretty well fixed. So I guess that's the key. I don't know. Apparently people have a hard time with this, but you just put the wire on that and run it. So I mean, actually, that was kind of one of the easier parts of the job. So anyway, maybe I'm missing something. Time will tell. But good, looking good so far. So there is one more thing before we put everything back together. So when you open the front door, the window will pop down, and the one in the back will pop down as well. And then that'll come back up. See how that's nice and even, and the margin here is correct. If we look at the other side here, it will pop down. So I just put that trim back on the inside so I could close the door, and then I put the windows up. But basically, watch this action. So they both come down, and they come up, but they don't meet. So that needs adjusted. So I'm going to get inside the car, and we'll loosen up the bolts for the glass there and just shift that around just a little bit and see if we can make that meet better, and then we'll look at it. But basically, I'm just going to loosen everything up, kind of push it in place where I want, and then we'll see what happens. So I think I have success here. Basically, I just loosened up the 3 bolts that hold it in the glass, and then with the door closed, kind of adjusted everything to what looked right and what looks like the other side as well. So now they'll both pop away, and then they'll tighten up. The margin is tight and even the whole way up and down, and they meet at the same point. So that actually looks pretty good. So I think we'll go with that. So with the regulator tight and the glass tight, all the adjustments, so to speak, should be back together, or not back together, all the adjustments should be made, which you know, makes us good to go as far as getting everything back together.